Welcome to the Real Comic Heroes Podcast. Your adventure into the world of comic book movies starts here.
Greetings, citizens, and welcome to another adventure of the Real Comic Heroes Podcast. My name's Travis,
And I'm Patrick.
and boy, it has been a while.
Yeah, it's been a bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we're back.
We're back. That's right.
Took a while to get all the goop off me. Unplug, you know.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Use our eyes and ears for the first time.
Yeah, it took a while. It's bright out there, but
Well, we are joined by none other than Jarf. Welcome, Jarf.
Thanks, Travis. Thanks, Patrick. That's right. I'm back.
That's right. It's been you joined us for Steel, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Steel. So today we're going to talk about a movie that's a little bit better.
That's
held in
debatable.
a little bit
That's
higher
debatable.
regard.
Yeah, this is probably the biggest whiplash of I guess quality a guest has had.
Yeah.
Could
I'm
be.
trying
Yeah.
to think. That's going from the Shack Man to Neo, and like that's only been a few years, really. Like
Yeah.
timeline wise, but holy cow.
Yeah, because that was probably 96, 95, maybe.
Somewhere around there, yeah.
Yeah,
Nice. Well,
Yeah, which is wild.
welcome to the Matrix.
that's right.
Let's see how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Crazy.
Well, before we get into all that, I threw some questions at Jarf. Since it's been a while, something new I want to do, and Jarf is the first victim. So I threw some questions at you. Do you have your answers ready, Jarf?
I do. I
Okay.
do. And I'm excited that I'm the first one to answer these.
Yeah. So I don't even know if I ran this by Patrick, but
No, but hey, I'm here for it.
yeah. So question number one, what was the first comic book you read?
So in my grandparents' basement, they had these treasury editions of the Peanuts. So I had seen Charlie Brown and Snoopy and the Peanuts in my Sunday morning funnies, but this was the first time I ever saw it collected.
Yeah.
And so the collection I remember, it's got kind of a maudlin title. I Feel Lonely When I'm All Alone. Collections from Peanuts Revisited.
Nice.
Wow, that is a dark title for a
Right?
I know he's got a psychiatrist on standby, but still, that's
Yeah,
It's
the
heavy.
doctor is in.
wow.
5 cents.
Nice.
So question number two, what was the first comic book movie you saw?
That was Superman the movie.
Right on. Pretty good one to start with, I suppose.
Starting with the classic.
Did you see it? Do you remember how you saw that? Was that a theater?
I think I saw that one at home.
Okay.
I distinctly remember seeing Superman 2 in the theaters. There was a repertory theater near us because I grew up in rural central PA, so pretty far from the movie theaters, and we weren't getting like the first run things.
Yeah.
But there was this theater in Ickesburg, and yeah, because both like me and my brother and also my mom were all fans of Superman.
Nice.
She thought he was a hunk.
Sure. Yeah. Not wrong. Not
No.
wrong.
All right. Number three, favorite comic book issue or series?
Okay, so I tried to give quick answers to the other ones because I thought a lot about this, maybe too much, but it's really just difficult to choose just one because my tastes vary so much within comic books. So, I mean, I like character-driven space soap operas like the Dark Phoenix Saga, or more recently, Young Avengers Volume 2 by Kieran Gillen and Jamie McKelvey. I love seeing more women in comics and more black and brown characters done by black and brown writers.
Sure.
And I like funny books like Archie and Howard the Duck, indie comics, Sexy Spies, fantasy, sci-fi. So, it's really all over the map. But if I had to, if I was forced to, and this was the assignment, so I did pick just one, I'd say JLA Earth 2 by Grant Morrison and Frank Whiteley.
Okay.
So if listeners aren't familiar, that's Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Flash, and Green Lantern versus their evil Elseworlds counterparts,
Mhm.
the Crime Syndicate of America.
Nice. Okay.
So I really like that one because it kind of harkens back, for me, back to Challenge of the Super Friends,
Okay.
when all of the JLA was paired against kind of an equal opposite
Okay.
or like some kind of mirror image counterpoint. I
Yeah.
love a mirror universe story. And Grant and Frank, those are two of my favorite creators. So
Okay.
it's like got that childhood memory piece, but then it has more of an adult sensibility to it. There's this great love triangle between evil Superman, evil Batman, and evil Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
And,
Okay.
so yeah, that's my pick. JLA Earth 2.
Right on.
I'm glad you explained JLA because I was one of those people, and I was thinking Justice League of America, but at first, honestly, I thought Jewish League of America.
Right.
I don't know if I'm thinking of the JCC. I don't know what I'm thinking, but appreciate that.
Yep. I'm sure that comic exists somewhere too.
Probably. Yeah.
It's got to. If not, copyright.
Right.
Yeah, right.
I'll have to find somebody that can write that though, since I'm
Yeah.
not Jewish.
That's not a problem, right?
Yeah, I could wing Judaism, right?
Sure.
Thousands of years. Yeah, no worries. I got it.
Yeah. Last question. Favorite comic book movie?
Okay, so I'm going to give an honorary mention. I mentioned I like indie comics, and there was a movie in 2023, Shortcomings, directed by Randall Park. That is an adaptation of one of my favorite indie comics, Optic Nerve, that was
Okay.
published by Drawn and Quarterly in the early 2000s. And it's a good movie in its own right, too.
Okay.
But my favorite, so just a few years before The Matrix, there was another little movie that blended martial arts and sci-fi into something really unique. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, 1990.
Okay. Right on.
I thought you were gonna go with Steel when you said a few years.
No,
Yes.
Steel is not my favorite comic book.
Okay,
movie.
just
Steel deserved better.
You said it right before this one, so
I mean, I think that's an excellent choice. I mean, that is a solid movie, through and through. So
yeah. First one's still my favorite Ninja
Yeah.
Turtle. Second one was cool just because it had Vanilla Ice at the end.
right.
Right.
I mean, cool as ice. Come on.
Well, cool. So let's just kind of let's listeners get to know you a little bit better, and
I
Something
think it's a
cool.
great bit. Yeah. I'm excited to hear your other guests do it too.
yeah. Well,
I
think
like
we'll-
I like the journey I took
right.
with the peanuts starting it off. Yeah, I like that. That was cool.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to the Matrix, and Jarf, why don't you kick us off with when did you first experience the Matrix, and tell us all about that.
So I saw it first run in the theater.
Okay.
My brother and I saw it in State College. I knew nothing about it going into it, which is really an incredible way to experience it. Nothing had been leaked. I did
Yeah.
not know what to expect. The Matrix to me was the Matrix of Autobot leadership from Transformers. And, I liked the cast. I was a big fan of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, so that was part of the hook for me.
Okay.
And then I saw it and was just completely blown away. It was this original sci-fi IP, wasn't connected to anything else, did obviously reference a lot of other kung fu and
Yeah.
sci-fi tropes and imagery, but it really had its own story and its own world. And I think it works so well because you learn about the world along with Neo,
Right.
and the action never takes a break. And I don't mean action from the martial arts standpoint, but
Right,
it there's never a lull in the movie where they're like, okay, now we're gonna stop and we're gonna slam a bunch of exposition down on you, and they kind of unfold everything and like keep you moving along with it. So while Neo's like training and learning, and then there's the deception subplot, and then they go on a mission, and then Morpheus gets abducted, and so they have to go back to get him, and so I really like that it like keeps moving you forward that way.
Very cool. Patrick, what about you?
Saw it in the theater.
Okay.
This is a weird year for movies, and I forever have this linked with Blair Witch because they were the two biggest like impacts, I think, movie wise that year, as far as my experience went. And I remember this one, I probably saw like a month after it came out because I know I had heard people tell me to go see it.
Yeah.
Because I want to say I was like maybe April or May I saw it, and I think it came out at least around March or February or something. I can't remember exactly. So I heard a lot about it, and I think I was originally not too into it. To me, the Matrix was just the dot matrix printer. And then I didn't really know what to expect with Keanu Reeves. I think the last thing I saw him in was Speed before this. So I was like, okay, it could be good, but I don't really know what everyone's talking about special effects being crazy and stuff like that. And it's hard to tell people how cool it was because it got so overused after the fact with like bullet speed motion, whatever you want to call it, that camera rig that kind of whips around. But I remember thinking, okay, I don't understand how any of this is happening right now, what I'm seeing. And just I think I saw it like at least 3 times in the theater.
Wow.
Because I just had to see it again. But yeah, like there's no break for you in this movie. Like you can't like go to the bathroom if you're at the theater because you're gonna miss something. It's kind of one of those movies because even like the exposition with what's his face, Joe Pantoliano, even that I found interesting to watch. Just the grossness of him eating the steak and like just the look of like desperation he has with the agent, kind of just like, yes, whatever, like totally dismissive. But I don't know,
ignorance is bliss.
And the more it's those scenes that I kind of tend to pay attention to now more than like the bullet scene. But yeah, one of my favorite movies.
Oh, okay. Wow. I didn't realize that.
Yep.
I missed this in theater. I probably had seen a trailer attached to something, and I think probably because I wasn't like, I wasn't like a goth kid, wasn't into any of that kind of stuff. Wasn't a tech kind of person really. And I think I was I can't say I was too young for it because this movie is aimed at anyone, ages like 15 to 35 or whatever. So I can't say that, it just didn't appeal to me for that reason. I think I just didn't get around to it. I think I was also working that summer, like my first kind of summer job. So I think I just didn't necessarily have as much time to go to movies, and maybe didn't have money. But yeah, I caught this on DVD and instantly kind of knew like, oh, I should have seen this in theater. Kind of that instant like, I missed out on something here. And then, once I saw it, I got what everyone was into and why people liked it so much. I mean, just great action, really compelling story. Yeah, I mean, it's one I watched plenty of times over the years, and then was really hyped up for the sequels. And then kind of once those came out, I was like, okay, didn't watch them as much after that. And I've said it before, like once all 3 of them came out, like watching this one would make me want to keep going. And then I'd watch 2 and 3 and be like, I wish I just stopped at 1, so.
Yeah. Well, maybe since Travis, you were talking about like the sequels and, diminishing returns, I'd be curious to hear what either of you kind of thought of like the larger world of the Matrix. We already touched on the sequels, some of the, and I didn't love them either, but I was really into the Enter the Matrix Xbox game. And I
Okay.
really loved the Animatrix
Yeah.
prequel like shorts. And so I'm just curious, were there any other pieces of Matrix media that kind of you were into?
For me, not really. I watched the other movies, and I think I did own the Animatrix. I watched it like once, and so this was not a franchise that I like invested
Like you were
heavily
not that
in.
bought into it, yeah.
Yeah, like I enjoyed this movie a lot, but yeah, I wasn't like delving any deeper into it the way I would with Star Wars or
Mm-hmm.
something like that. So no, not for me. I mean, I watched all of those, but I never played a Matrix game, so I understand that there's a lot more you can get out of this world through that game.
Yeah, there's like additional story content, and probably, or certainly at this point, you could just go on YouTube and watch it.
Yeah.
But I'm not that good at video games, so I would never
Mm.
progress that far to see all of that content. I
Yeah.
just really thought it was fun because you get to do the bullet time stuff.
Mhm.
Oh,
You would like hold down the L button, and everything else slows down, and you're like super
Yeah.
fast, and you can like dodge a bullet, and you can do the whole thing. So
sure.
that's just cool.
Yeah. One of the
Yeah.
better comic book games.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of crappy ones.
Yes. I think there's a point where like a plane is trying to take off, and like if you use your bullet time right, like you can shoot the like tire of the plane and cause it to crash before it takes off. It's
Huh.
very cool.
Yeah.
How about you, Patrick?
Yeah, I've pretty much seen every movie, but haven't seen the anime one,
Mm.
weirdly enough. The second one kind of took away some of the luster for me, and the third one, I was just like, I don't know what's happening anymore. I think I liked having the first one because it just left it so open ended,
Mhm.
and it's a very simple story. It's basically
Yeah.
like chosen one, like he's basically Jesus, but
Right.
very Christiany there. But I think the more they try to explain things, it's almost like how I am with Star Wars, where
Mhm.
I don't need to know about the midichlorians, the Force, and like it overcomplicated things. I think the sequels, for the most part, the more recent one I thought was pretty good. Not a reboot, but kind
Yeah.
of continuation without all the crazy inner workings of the world.
Hmm.
But yeah, 2 and 3 kind of soured me on the franchise, unfortunately.
I haven't seen the newest one. I own it now because I ended up buying all these through iTunes or Apple because it was a really good price, and I knew we were going to cover the rest of them, so I figured why not just go ahead and get them now. So I own it, but yeah, I don't know if I'll when I'll get to watching it, but
Yeah.
let's see. I did want to touch on The Matrix versus The Invisibles. I looked up The Invisibles was a Grant Morrison Vertigo comic series that The Matrix has been accused of ripping off, a lot of elements from. I don't have like firsthand knowledge of this. I've never read The Invisibles. So I'm getting all my information, just from the internet, but there's an article I found from Screen Rant. It says why the Matrix has been accused of ripping off Grant Morrison's comics from February 2022 by Sarah Rose. And it says when Grant Morrison was beginning their now legendary Vertigo comic series, The Invisibles, they were dedicated to making the comic into something that would change and influence the world, but they likely didn't expect their ideas to penetrate pop culture so effectively that they would seemingly inspire several elements of the Wachowskis' box office hit The Matrix. I'm not going to read the entire article, but I just want to touch on little bits. Grant Morrison themselves says, suddenly I felt my territory invaded. That was stuff that nobody had been doing in comic books or in pop culture. It was always there in the underground because that's where I'd come out of. And then, so it kind of breaks down like the look, and it says The Invisibles was released in 1992 and was a big hit within the goth subculture of the time, but the cultural moment was changing. The rise of dance music led the movement to break up into more closely tied factions, from cyber goth to medieval goth to zombie goth. This was reflected and, in some cases, anticipated in the various fashion styles depicted by Morrison and the artists who worked on The Invisibles. With predominant black leather, sunglasses, piercings, and highly defined personal character styles, the Invisibles resonated with the goth scene, and like its fellow Vertigo book Neil Gaiman's Sandman, likewise inspired aspects of goth fashion. Says, but while the Invisibles largely resonated with the underground outsider crowd, the Matrix resonated with everybody. The Invisibles' alleged influence over the look of the Matrix is one of the key points that hits a personal note for Morrison, who lamented in Rolling Stone's Grant Morrison's psychedelic superhero. I was told by people on the set that Invisibles books were passed around for visual reference. Then it continues and talks about the story. The Matrix's plot bears many similarities to Volume 1 of The Invisibles, which includes pretty much everything from The Matrix minus the computer simulation. The Invisibles does include elements of reality being not as one knows it, but uses the idea of multiple dimensions rather than a simulation of reality. The comic deals with aspects of reality being an illusion, the real world being controlled by inhuman masters, before imploring the audience to wake up. The audience POV character in both the Invisibles and The Matrix is even referred to as the One. Both stories follow the lives of people living in relatable circumstances, only to be initiated into a cell of reality-bending rebels in order to become their savior. So on iconic moments, a major story point in both Neo and Jack Frost's journey is when a mentor figure asks them to partake in something to open their eyes to the metaphysical truth of the world around them. While the allegorical influence of the red pill is debated, it serves the same purpose as the blue mold that Jack Frost is offered in The Invisibles. Mirrors also feature heavily within both series. A major initiatory test moment for both stories, primary characters, is when they are asked to leap from a skyscraper.
Can we just stick on the red pill versus blue mold
Yeah.
thing? Because that is blowing my mind, because that is one of the major cultural touchstones from the Matrix.
Yeah.
Now this idea of being like anything pilled.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I finally tried Federal Donuts for the first time. I held out for so long, but now, okay, friends, I'm Federal Donuts pilled. Like that's just your shorthand for being convinced into anything. And there apparently is an alternate world where we would have been saying molded instead of pilled,
right?
Which is pretty horrifying. I ate the mold. I ate the mold, friends.
It's kind of replacing, the drinking the Kool-Aid sort of idea. Like, it's become, I think, that much of a household term, I would think. Let's see. There's one more bit here. It says King Mob's interrogation in The Invisibles could effectively be used as a storyboard for the Matrix scene involving Agent Smith's questioning of Morpheus, from Agent Smith placing his hands on either side of Morpheus's head to the warrior hero's single bleeding nostril. The similarities are incredibly striking, and both scenes play out with the mentor character being handcuffed, injected, and interrogated before they are finally rescued. And then the last bit, comments from the Wachowskis themselves on the topic are scarce, and they have never publicly acknowledged Morrison's influence. Further commenting in Anarchy for the Masses, Morrison talked of putting the matter to bed, saying, "After the initial rage, when I really went through it plot point by plot point, the jumps from the buildings, the magic mirror, the boy who's being inducted called the One, the black drones, the shades, the fetish, the kung fu as well, the dojo scene, the whole thing, the insect machines that are in fact from a higher dimension, which supposedly enslaved their own, the entire Gnostic theme. But then I began to think, well, wasn't that what the spell was supposed to do? Quit griping. So
Okay.
Grant Morrison is a bit of a wizard. So
Yeah, it made the one's kind of an old trope that's been around long
yeah,
before any of
yeah.
that. And then
I was
the,
dubious until they had the part about copies of the Invisibles being passed around for visual reference, because I was thinking skeptically, well, okay, goth aesthetics had already been out there,
Sure.
and two creators can both just look at
Right.
a subculture and be inspired by
Yeah.
it at the same
Sure.
time.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're literally passing the book out to people and say like, hey, art department, make it
Yeah.
like this, then you've got something there.
Yeah.
And now I think I've only dipped my toe into the Invisibles, and it was a long time ago.
Mm.
But like I said, Grant Morrison, one of my favorite writers.
Yeah.
So now I'm really excited to read that first volume with the Matrix in mind. So
Right on.
that's fun.
yeah, because I literally wrote down that this looks like Blade,
Mm.
like all the leather and the sunglasses,
Sure.
or barbed wire, or like anything from the 90s, The Crow. Like everything's like this leathery, dark gothic.
Yeah.
Like, so I just attributed that to the time frame. I wouldn't have necessarily said it's this guy's book from 1992.
Yeah.
Because there's a ton of just, those are just comic books. Like I'm sure there's other movies too.
Yeah. I mean, that was just that you had to look like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you were making a movie, no matter what it was, that was the costume.
Yeah. I mean, certainly
and
after
I
this,
will
I mean,
admit, I too wore a long coat.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yes, I did. I did it.
Columbine kind of ruined all that, unfortunately.
Yes, it did.
I remember they were outlawed by senior year. You couldn't wear a trench coat anywhere.
Mine wasn't your run of the mill flasher / school shooter trench coat. It was houndstooth. It was sharp.
Oh.
Okay, gotcha.
Well, let's dive into it. Setting up like the aesthetics aside, like the green numbers, all the, all that stuff aside, like when it opens with the sort of action set piece with Trinity, that's something we haven't really had in, not that I can think of, like a strong female-led action sequence to start a movie off. Like there may be some examples that I'm not thinking of.
Just said barbed wire.
That opens with a striptease, not a.
That is a strong female.
Although I think she does kill somebody.
She does. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So you're right. You're right. Barbed wire did it first. So never mind.
How dare you?
Yeah.
The great Pamela Anderson besmirched.
Yeah. Yeah.
Barbed wire shimmied so that
that's right.
Matrix could kick.
Watching it this time around, for me, like I don't think I'd ever noticed how much this the fight with like this fight with Trinity and these cops, and then some later stuff with the SWAT team trying to take down Morpheus. Like Zack Snyder took a lot of influence from this. I hadn't ever really noticed before, but thinking of a scene like the SWAT team in Watchmen taking down Rorschach, like it feels very much like this. Even just the sound effects of the punching, the slow motion, and like all that. Like, yeah, I'd never really thought about Zack Snyder being influenced by the Wachowskis, but I'm sure he was.
A lot of people were, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I heard on the set of The Watchmen they were handing out DVDs of The Matrix.
Yeah, just let's just do this. Yeah.
Do this. Yeah, the only part of that sequence that looks dated is when she's like doing that dive spin through the window.
Yeah.
But at the time I was like, whoa, what happened?
Yeah, there's some ropey, sort of effects that every now and then don't, hold up. But
as you said that, it made me think of, I don't know if it was before or after Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Mm.
That was the big wire work
That was
movie.
2000.
That was
Yeah.
after? Okay. I know a lot of it was probably pre that. There's tons of wire work in
Yeah.
Hong Kong movies and stuff. So, okay. Yeah.
Something that, like, watching this. So I initially, like, to take notes for this, I had watched this without taking any notes about a month prior to when I sat down and actually took notes on it. So I had already kind of had the whole movie in my head, or like kind of in a fairly recent memory. And so once I did go, to take notes, I was kind of influenced by knowing what comes later, obviously. But like, the agents that are chasing Trinity, are they morphing from the cops that are here?
Yeah, they do that a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, because they don't show it here, but it's like, it just made me wonder,
Yeah.
like, are
They show it later. I think they save
Yeah.
it for later as
Yeah.
a reveal. I always
Yeah,
took it
because I
as.
don't think you would understand what was happening
Okay.
if it
Yeah.
happened that, and they're doing that like slow. Because I
Yeah.
mentioned that I went into this,
Mhm.
not knowing what to expect.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And they just kind of give you the drips of, okay, she's like slightly more agile
Hmm.
and fast than you would expect a human to be. Like,
Yeah.
okay, that was a little bit like uncanny. And then when she's running on the rooftops, then you start to get some like super long jumps.
Yeah.
And the kind of first red flag is one of the cops, after she jumps from one building to another and it's kind of like too far, he
Yeah.
says, "That's impossible."
But
And
then,
that's
like,
the
the
point where I'm
agents, I
like,
think, are able to keep up with her. So then
mhm,
we know, like, oh, so the agents are also
right, like there's some supers
special.
and there's some
Yeah.
regulars, but it's just really fun to go back to that place where you're
Mhm.
like, what is this world? And
Yeah.
why is she enhanced and why are they? And but some people don't understand what's going on. And so,
Sure.
versus going into an X-Men and it's like,
Mm.
that
They
is
have
so cool in a
powers. Yeah.
different way because I know the world and
Mm.
I'm getting to see how they play it out, but this was totally fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was superheroes when I first saw it. Like I just
Mm.
assumed it was like mutants or something, or
Okay.
Mhm.
like I wasn't thinking, oh, this is a simulation.
Yeah.
Like that never crossed my mind until they actually
Mhm.
showed it to Neo. Like we were saying, it's
Yeah.
you're along for the ride with them.
I love that it ends with that the garbage truck, standoff with the payphone. Like, I love that sequence. Every time, I see it, it's like, she's not gonna get there in time. Like, how
Yeah,
could she
right.
possibly get there in time?
Yeah.
And however long it takes for that connection to be made, and but yeah, it's always awesome.
I wrote down, did they win because there's only cell phones. There's no landlines anymore. So
Hmm.
did the robots patch it? And
Oh,
now
right.
that's why we don't have phone
Yeah.
booths.
Yeah. So then we meet Neo, and like we've already talked about, like, he's the audience surrogate throughout this movie. He's going to be our guide, being guided by Morpheus and Trinity. And so, yeah, it makes it so much easier to digest when you're following him and he's experiencing everything for the first time. So, and that's a pretty standard movie sort of thing. I mean, Luke Skywalker, several other instances of that same type of hero character. So
Get to go clubbing with Rob Zombie,
yeah.
calling that white rabbit. Did you like the scene where the computer's talking to him? Because that like
Yeah.
weirded me out. Like when I remember seeing it,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, do they have cameras in there? Like, are they spying on him?
Right.
Not knowing they kind of were spying on him because it's a simulation. But I thought we were going like deep state, like spy activity at first.
Mm.
Like I didn't know what was going on.
He's an interesting character because he is so, like, he doesn't seem like he fits in with this world of, like, he seems like an outsider in this world, but he's not we'll see, like, he's not meant for the corporate environment where he works, because obviously he's doing all the hacking stuff on the, so it's like he doesn't fit in anywhere, and maybe that's why he's so, like, he's destined to be, you know important in the Matrix because it's, or in the real world. I don't know, but
So had a question, still have this question today. I understand like Trinity is a hacker to him in the
mhm.
real world. So is that like I always struggle with this. Um, so I'm assuming they're doing some hacking on the outside in, and that's how he stumbles across Trinity, or like she's not actually in that world, like because everyone says you get out when you're much younger.
Mm,
So it's not like she was a hacker and then she got taken out of the Matrix.
yeah,
Is how I thought of it, because they always
right.
say that he was too old to be taken out. It's harder to get the memory to accept it or whatever.
Mhm.
So I'm assuming he's come across this group in his hacking endeavors,
Yeah, because they
and
show
then
us on his screen that like he's searching databases for names like Morpheus, and like there's a newspaper clipping that says like Morpheus
yeah.
eludes police at Heathrow or something like that. So
So
like
they are like
he's,
a hacking group to the Matrix world.
yeah,
They're not okay.
I
That's the
get,
part
yeah.
I've always been confused by, because I'm like, how do
Huh.
they know kind of each other? Because at first,
Yeah.
when I first saw this, I thought she was like him, where she was a hacker and then got taken out of the Matrix
Mm.
kind of thing. But then I
Well, I
thought
think that part
differently.
is true. It
Yeah,
just
Is it?
isn't clear how old she was
yeah.
because she
Oh,
talks
okay.
about her
That was a
own
wall.
experience, like when she met the Oracle and
Yeah,
how Morpheus told her about the world. And so she definitely had the same. I mean, everybody that has the doodad in the back of their neck had to be
yeah,
woken up.
Yeah.
true.
And
So
Yeah,
maybe she was like teen hacker.
oh, that's true. Yeah, I guess she could have been like 13 or
yeah.
something, and that would make sense. And
Mm.
he's probably been, I don't know. Him, they both seem like they're in their 30s and a little too old to be hacking computers, to some extent, like the way that they're portrayed with like the gothic club techno scene or whatever.
Yeah.
So maybe that's throwing me off. Okay, yeah, I just went down a, well, I was gonna say rabbit hole, but dang it.
Um,
So yeah, we're at gray corporate America where
yeah.
everyone dresses the same. It's a little close to home. I don't like this part.
I like how this kind of becomes I mean, he gets the phone and he's speaking directly with Morpheus, and it kind of becomes like a Yoda test for, like, Morpheus is testing Neo almost, like,
Mhm.
go out the window, climb outside, and you got to do everything I tell you to, or you're gonna get, you know um taken by these guys. And so this is kind of a, like, Neo fails this test. I mean, it's also important, like, he needs to get away from these people. It's not just a, test for shits and giggles, but like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of just a being thrown into the fire sort of situation that no one, no one would pass this test. So
Yeah, I ain't climbing out on that thing.
right.
And they make the wind really intense
Hmm.
in this.
It's
Like
when
when
he
he
has to
drops the
like
phone.
try to reach
Oof.
around that like piece of
Yeah.
metal, like guttering or whatever it is. Like that's when it's like,
Nope.
yeah, that's not, no way.
I wouldn't just, I would not even attempt going out there.
Yeah, yeah,
It could be like hard pass. Let them seal my mouth up.
yeah. Speaking of, like, that's kind of the first instance, once they capture him and they're
Oh
interrogating
yeah.
him. And yeah, when his mouth seals up, I remember
Yeah.
that scene is like, oh, okay, something is, obviously this
Yeah.
is a world that I don't understand at this point, like, up until then, it's like, okay, I've seen people make, big leaps. I mean, Blade has him jump across,
Yeah.
rooftops, so that kind of stuff was like, okay, no big deal. But yeah, once his mouth started to melt closed, it's like, oh, so this is a weird, you know, it was different. It was like new and different. I'd never seen anything like that before. So
What was that movie where everyone falls asleep and then they change the world? And
Dark
that's
City.
Dark City. That's
Yeah,
it. I
yeah.
kept thinking Dark World. Dark City. Dark World is Thor. Dark City is what I think of when I um, kind of think about how they manipulate things.
Yeah.
So it makes me kind of think of that. But yeah, I was just like, what the hell is going on? This was like some Freddy Krueger Nightmare on Elm Street stuff to me.
Yeah.
I was like, is this a dream world? Because then, he wakes up. So it's like, I don't know. Yeah, messed with me.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun revisiting this just because it reminds me of how weird this movie was the first time I saw it.
I love once we get like Neo entering the Matrix, or getting to that point of like when he's brought before Morpheus. I don't know if we want to jump to that point, but I know we're kind of trying to get through this a little quicker.
Honorable mention to the bug.
Yeah,
tracking.
the bug. I never loved the bug idea.
Really, I love that thing.
I think because it's like it's a mechanical little thing, but then it turns into a biological thing that I don't know.
Yeah. It made me check my belly button. I don't know about you. I was like, is that what that's for?
Right.
Is it a bug entry?
I do love the introduction to Agent Smith. I mean, I think we see him earlier with Trinity.
Yeah.
But
I think he's
the one-on-one between Smith and Mr. Anderson is just a great sort of sequence. But I mean, when this came out, it's like it made Hugo Weaving like kind of put him on the map as far as, at least for American audiences, I'm sure.
Yeah, he always came across as a super cocky John Wayne to me.
Okay.
Like he was doing like a weird John Wayne impression.
Yeah, just very
Mr.
stoic.
Anderson.
Yeah.
And he had like that smug look on his face.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I don't know why he made me think of John Wayne, but so yeah. We get to either go back and live in the Matrix or see the real world now.
Mm-hmm.
The red pill or the blue mold. Oh, sorry. It's so weird if he was just like eating some blue mold.
And I don't know what context the blue mold is, like if it's I don't know. Maybe you inhale it, or I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I love how it starts with, we meet Morpheus, played by Lawrence Fishburne, and it's like he's incredible in this movie. I love like the kind of the opening monologue he gets when he is meeting Neo. Like I just can't imagine anybody else delivering that sort of like, the lines that he has throughout this movie. But yeah, he absolutely nails it and is great in this entire movie. But then I like how it's as soon as he takes that pill, like then it becomes like a tech thing. Like the rest of the crew is like, searching for a signal, and it seems, at first it seems magical, but then it becomes technological. So
when the mirror starts
like after that, I know that they're on a computer or something and like looking for a signal and all that stuff. So but I do like how as that mirror thing goes down his throat, you hear that sound that we all grew up getting online with, just sort of that like
landline dial tone. Yeah, it's unnerving hearing his scream turn into that.
Yeah.
So what pill would you guys take, the red or the blue? You going red and dipping into the real world, or you more like Cypher?
Well, I'd probably be like Cypher, where I would take the pill and then regret it, and then bitch and moan about it for.
You didn't tell me that the real world sucks,
right?
And it's bleak, and we gotta eat like snot porridge every day.
Yeah.
And wear like crummy sweatpants, kind of like tattered.
Yeah.
I know.
I want to be in my like sleek pleather overcoat, kicking butt.
Yeah.
Now, could you do it this way and maybe you can't, but you just get into the real world, but then you just spend your whole time in the Matrix. Anyway.
Right. I wonder how long a person could be plugged in, and
maybe they track you after a certain amount of time. I don't know.
I guess that would be the downside. You would get tracked by agents if you were too long.
They'd probably detect you, but yeah.
I wonder if you can log into the Matrix, but go to like the outskirts of town. Don't go into the city. Just go like get a place in the suburbs,
Hmm.
you know?
See, I've thought about this, and I was like, maybe I could be like a hermit out in the middle of nowhere. But then, what if the agents can change reindeers into themselves?
Right.
Or, like, I don't know what their limitations are on taking over
Well,
things
it's
in the
anything that's
Matrix.
hardwired into the system. And so that's specific to
Okay,
humans because humans are the ideal battery,
Hmm.
according to the
interesting.
movie. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's really true.
Yeah,
I
I don't know.
love that whole portion of the movie
Yeah,
when, once he's like, it's we get a lot of that, like Morpheus explaining shit to Neo.
mhm,
And I love that conversation, that they have where he shows them the battery and it's like, talks about the fields of humans being grown and talks
yeah.
about, all that stuff.
And this is
I
where we
eat
have
that
to
up.
tip our cap to Fishburne
Mm,
because this part of the movie would be boring as hell
yeah,
if anybody else was
right.
Morpheus. But he just has that diction and that delivery where he sells even the most like complicated, far out
Hmm.
weirdo sci-fi. And it just sounds really interesting
Yeah. I
coming out of
love
his mouth.
Yeah. But I love how they also explain everything. Like when you go into the Matrix, you look how you want to look. And I love that idea. They call it residual self-imaging. And I think we all kind of have that, like in our when we dream or when we imagine ourselves, like we have an image of us, of yourself. And I think that's what they're going for here. It's like it makes sense that like, yeah, all your plugs and veins and all that stuff, or those are all gone, and your hair's grown back to your whatever your like ideal version of yourself is. So, yeah, I mean, it would make sense. And I don't know if they purposely did this or not. I'd have to like rewatch the first 15, 20 minutes of the movie to see like, are there any ugly people in the real world? In terms of like what Neo thinks is the real world, like because there wouldn't be, everyone would be, your ideal self. So,
Well, I have a book recommendation
mm,
that goes along with that idea. And it's just can give you a completely, if you haven't read it, a very interesting and different way of looking at the Matrix and actually the trilogy as a whole. We talked about how there's diminishing returns with the
mm,
sequels. So it's Begin Transmission, the Trans Allegories of the Matrix
mm,
by Tilly Bridges. And she's a trans author. So she
yeah,
is, talking about this in like a positive and enthusiastic way.
yeah,
And I don't have like the extensive notes that you had with the Invisibles thing,
mm,
but the basic idea is that like yes, there is this surface level sci-fi story of like the machines and the Matrix and the kung fu and all that, but then like allegorically, and not for nothing, it's created by two trans women.
hmm,
uh, it is about Neo wanting to transition to be Trinity.
mm,
And then if you look at the styling of those two characters, they
mm.
are very similar.
mhm.
Okay,
So, and then they kind of go in that kind of methodical movies by minute
yeah,
style where they go through the movie and they talk about, okay, this character represents this perspective
yeah,
on transitioning, and they're like, this character is about doubt and this is like encouragement. And so,
okay,
yeah, it's really interesting.
huh,
Again, it's Begin Transmission, the trans allegories of the Matrix.
okay, yeah. I've always once I found out about the character of Switch,
Hmm.
um, I fell in love with that idea that like what they're I can't remember if they well, I guess they didn't go through with it because Switch is played by I mean is female presenting both in the real world and in the Matrix, but I think the idea is that
Like canonically, they are transitioning between, like,
yeah, like Switch
because
is
their real image is.
yeah. I love the idea that Switch is a trans character
Mhm.
and is able to be the person they want to be in the simulation or
Right, right.
you know.
Then that makes it a real confusing conundrum for her. She's like, because then she's trying to destroy what she gets to use to be
Right,
yourself.
right. Yeah.
Because that had to be rough to wake up and you're a different what you thought you had going in the Matrix like that. I didn't even think about that aspect of it. Good Lord.
Yeah. Because I mean, they're living in like squalor survival.
Yeah.
There's not going to be gender affirming surgery
Right.
if
Yeah.
you're eating like
you're-
snot
yeah.
porridge
Yeah.
Yeah.
and flying around on a hover
So,
ship.
that would be brutal. Oh, that's another
Yeah.
interesting. Was this the power plant that he wakes up in with all the tubes and the
Oh,
goo
sure.
and everything? I always wondered if those plants were organized by family tree, so that like if his parents were woken up when he was, would he look like them, kind of thing?
Right.
Well, I don't think there are any parents because
Yeah.
humans are just grown rather than
yeah.
born.
So they're not taking this one and this one and
Right.
making
They're
this
not.
one.
I don't think they're doing that. Like blending, like choosing this DNA from this male and this egg. You know, I don't think they're.
Yeah.
Because like I was trying to think if
breeding.
a
I don't think they're-
family did
yeah.
get woken up at once, would they
Right.
look like what like?
Yeah, I don't think there's any breeding going on. It's just, you know,
Because otherwise you're gonna have some incest if you're not
not
I think
this
they
way
ju-
because it's just yeah, I don't know.
germinating.
Yeah.
I was thinking of us as like plants, like
right.
where
right.
you
Yeah.
breed
yeah.
this one with this one to get
Right.
this one kind of
Oh,
thing.
right.
Like that
Where you-
whole
Like a-
tower that he's in
Yeah,
is all
And there would be like a
relatives
little
now.
robot like honeybee that flies from pod to
Yeah.
pod to
Essentially, yeah. That's
Well,
how
pollinate
I
us.
kind of thought about it. Yeah.
I
that's
mean,
what
I don't
was
hate
thinking.
that idea either. That's an interesting, you know, but I also like it's interesting that when he comes out and once he's got like some of the training stuff done, I think it's the scene when they go to see the Oracle
Mhm.
and he's like, "Oh, I used to eat noodles there," you know. To me, it's interesting that he's like, "Oh, they had really good noodles." And he's like
Yeah.
wistful about it. He's like, "Oh, I guess, you know, I'll never experience that again." Or it's like that's like he never asks about like what about my family or like my friends? Like he didn't at no point
No.
does this movie address family or friends. It's
He's a
oh
loner.
that
so
the
I never-
noodles were really good there. You
Yeah.
know, that
Yeah.
sucks. You know, so it just adds to that. Yeah, he's just a loner who's, you know,
Well,
of
he
course.
said it. He's not really meant for the world,
Yeah.
so he's probably got nothing.
hmm
Like he doesn't even want to go out to that
Right.
club. He just follows the rabbit.
Yeah. I love the when he starts his training and it's
Mhm.
like I like how I love how they visualize the training. Like, you know, they plug in like Tank just pulls up like here's a you know kung fu simulation and he hits go and then you see like his eyes start flittering and he's like has this intense. I mean, it's like
Like a drug.
it's masturbation, it's drug addiction, it's like it's what all this like, you know, raw desire and intense, you know, they execute it perfectly just by the body language that Keanu Reeves, you know, does. Just it feels like he had this intense training session in, you know, 3 seconds or whatever. So I love that concept of, you know, and I wonder like is there a limit to that? You know, could you just learn everything, you know?
Yeah, it's interesting because you don't know what their brain's like because they've got this port
Mm-hmm.
in there. So it's a mixture of organic and tech.
Yeah.
So like, does he have a RAM card? He can only fit so
Right.
many things. Like,
Right.
does he need to swap out the SD card? I don't know.
Or I wonder, like, and I guess the movie kind of answers this at the end. Like, I'm guessing there a Superman program? Like, could he just be like, yeah, I just want to learn how to fly? I mean, he does at the end of the movie. So,
Well, it sounds like he can just manipulate
right.
the Matrix at will. So it's not even like
Yeah.
he needs like there's no program to teach him how to a human fly. So I think he can just manipulate because he was
Yeah.
what is it? He was born within the Matrix, the original
I don't know what the
Neo, the one.
I don't-
that
I
part
don't
still
know.
confused.
That all ruins it for me.
Same
the whole
here.
idea
Yeah.
that this is like a cycle that's repeated multiple
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that takes me out
would
of it.
I wish this movie didn't mess with prophecies and the
Yeah.
one. We just talked about Phantom Menace, and I talked about, the one and prophecies and all that stuff and how I don't care for it. Yeah, I don't really care for it here either. So
The only time I've liked The One is the movie The One with Jet
okay.
Li, where he is trying to kill all the versions of himself across
Sure.
the different iterations of reality to
Sure.
become an all-powerful being, to become the one.
Yeah.
That's the only acceptable method I will accept. This one, yeah, it's whatever. I do like the Spoon Kid though.
Okay.
I thought he was he was almost like the Yoda to me.
Mm.
He's also kind of like the golden child.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. He was talking kind of Yoda-ish, where it's kind of cryptic and wise sounding, but he's really not saying anything.
And this whole like dojo training,
Yeah.
seeing the Oracle, like this whole part is key to what this movie means to me. I can always I can put it on anytime and almost any scene enjoy, but that whole idea of he is as powerful as he can will himself to
Yeah.
be is why kind of like in my heart this movie is important.
Right. That's why,
Because
that dojo scene is so good. When Morpheus just says, do you think that's air you're breathing?
Right.
Like why do you think your muscles matter in this place? Like yeah, it's almost you could just give me scenes like that. It's like, oh yeah, he's gonna fight some agents or something, but I don't really care about all that. Give me more,
yeah.
Of Morpheus and Neo like talking about metaphysics and all this stuff while kung fu fighting,
Yeah.
Um,
And I just always enjoy a scene where a character has to psych themselves up to do
Yeah.
something, because I have mild anxiety and depression. So it's very easy for me to get into my own head
yeah,
and to have, self-doubt
sure.
or imposter syndrome. And so in those moments, like that is one I'll use as a mantra. So kind of like
Yeah.
Morpheus is my professional mentor,
Mhm.
and I'll tell myself, don't think you can, know you can.
Yeah.
There was even a time that I had to give an especially important Zoom presentation to my whole organization. I wrote it on a Post-it and I
Nice.
stuck it on my laptop.
I like it.
Corny, I know, but it worked for me.
Yeah, no, it's a good mantra.
And I crushed that presentation.
Nice.
I kicked it all the way through the wall.
And afterwards, you were like wiping your nose with your thumb and
Exactly.
whatever he does in that move.
Yeah.
Does his little flutter kick, flutter step. I like the Oracle with she's letting him say what he thinks he needs to, like he assumes he's not the one. So
Yeah.
he's like, you're going to tell me I'm not the one. And at the same time, she's saying, what's really going to cook your noodle is, would you have knocked over the base if I hadn't said anything?
Yeah.
So it's like a real mind gymnastics going on with the Oracle that I kind of dig, but I'm kind of angry at the same time.
Yeah. And I just saw someone post this on Threads recently. It never even occurred to me because I'm like not really a computer guy, but she makes him accept a cookie before he can get the information.
Yeah.
That's funny.
One thing that has always kind of bugged me is that, like, after some of the training stuff, like before they go see the Oracle, there's like 2 cipher scenes back to back, and the one is it's when Neo and Cypher have their like kind of first conversation, and it's just Cypher's just kind of giving them some tips and giving them a drink and.
Oh, it's the like I don't even see the code anymore.
Yeah,
I just see
yeah, all
blonde,
that.
redhead.
But then that scene, she kind of get an idea of like who Cypher is, and he was surprised by Neo, and he turns off the screens or whatever because Neo kind of snuck up on him.
And he also tells him, if you ever like forget about whatever anyone else is telling you, if you see an agent, you run.
Yeah.
So he's like the doubter.
Yeah. I think the only thing that I just wish that scene's fine. I love everything. Everything in that works. I just wish it wasn't immediately followed by a Cypher and Agent Smith scene with the stake, and because that's also a great scene. But I think that should come a little bit later. We should see that betrayal. I could see, like, I would kind of be interested to see that as a flashback of like once he's explained, like once Morpheus learns of Cypher's betrayal, then we see this scene, or just save this for a little bit later. I just think it's odd having these two Cypher moments back to back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can see that. I mean, I already knew he was a bad guy just because I know him from the Goonies. So,
Sure.
but yeah, I agree. It could have been stretched out a little bit to give you some.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about this guy, but it just goes straight to
Yeah.
we
Like,
can't trust this guy.
right.
So I can see where you're coming from on that.
I think when I think they figure out something's going on because of the deja vu with the cat.
Yeah.
And
I still use that today.
it's a perfect, like,
Yeah.
like in our real world, when we've all had those deja vu moments, to include that, something like that in this movie, or the idea of deja vu is that, like, feeling that that you can't, that you've experienced something before. It's like, it's so, like, I don't know, when you have one of those moments, because I think we've all had moments where it's like, what if this is a simulation, or an alien experiment, or like, I think we've all had some kind of idea, a thought of like that. I don't know, maybe not, but
No, there's
It'd be funny
TikTok
if Patrick
streams.
and I were like,
yeah, no,
yeah, oh, I don't know.
but
maybe you should talk to somebody.
yeah,
This is reality.
But like,
there's
deja vu is a good example because we all
Yeah.
have that kind of
Right.
shared experience or understanding. So it's a good thing to, like, feed the audience, like, oh, when you experience deja vu, that's because they've changed something. It's
Right.
Yeah. It's only gotten worse because there's like entire TikTok or YouTube shorts about glitches in the Matrix.
Oh,
And it's
Yeah.
kind of a combination of deja vu and the Mandela effect, kind of.
oh, right.
Mhm.
So they kind of merged into a glitch in the Matrix. So,
Mm.
like, that still holds incredibly strong today.
Mouse gets killed. He has like one good scene when he was talking about the lady in the red dress, but otherwise he's kind of one thing that, like, with this movie, I kind of wish this crew lasted longer. I
Yeah.
would rather
Mm.
spend the next two movies with this crew. Maybe each movie you kill somebody off, but like, the end of the movie, it's just Neo, Trinity, Tank, and Morpheus, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
so it's like they like, I don't know anything about APOC. I'd love to know more about Switch. Mouse is a fun enough character. Like, I think there was some potential there, but
See, I didn't mind it because it took me by surprise when he just started unplugging people.
yeah, no, that is a cool concept for sure.
And I was just like, oh,
Yeah.
like, it was just unnerving to watch them just collapse.
Mhm.
Like,
I love when Switch says, "Not like this,"
yeah,
Yeah.
and just that their eyes just roll back or whatever.
that's brutal.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think about that line all the time because it's like they're soldiers, so they knew the risks.
sure. Oh yeah.
But
They want to go out fighting, or
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they unfortunately go out like an appliance. They just get unplugged.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, they just got out of the Matrix so they could have this, like, control again. And then,
Oh man, I'm gonna
He
think about
takes it-
that the next time I unplug an appliance.
yeah, that's right. Your
My
lamp's
coffee
gonna-
maker's like, not like this.
Yeah.
Not like this.
Now, if Alexa does it, that's going to be unnerving.
Right.
So Morpheus makes the ultimate sacrifice.
Yep.
Which is like probably the most overacting piece I have.
Okay.
It's like, oh,
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah.
he just goes, cracks me up every time. I don't know
Yeah.
why. But yeah, we have the Unplug massacre of
Yeah.
99.
Oh, that's right. And so Cypher uses this gun on, I think Dozer kills him. And
And
like,
tank, but
what is this gun? Like, what is its purpose? Why is it here?
I don't know if it was like a
Seems like a
welding
handy
thing.
thing to use against machines because
That
it's
too,
like
Yeah.
it's like an ion attack.
Yeah.
It just it's one of those like it feels more sci-fi than anything else we've seen on this ship.
Yeah.
Aside from like the fact that they're plugging people into a computer, but it's just one
Right.
of those. It's also one of those like with this movie, I'm always weirded out by the fact that they're on this like hovercraft underground when it feels like they're just in a submarine. And I always have to like remember, and I'm always weirded out by the fact that this is like some kind of hovercraft, and it I don't know why it weirds me out. And then you get the sentinel bug thing, squiddies or whatever
Yeah.
later, and I I would rather think of like those being underwater because the way they move doesn't seem like it doesn't seem like they can move through space, like through air. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought they were underwater.
They're not. Yeah, it's a hovercraft.
Yeah. Because when
They're
they breach the hole, there's
they're
nothing
in
coming in or anything.
yeah, they're in underground tunnels
Yeah.
and
Okay.
yeah.
It's like service tunnels, or it's
Yeah.
almost like the wiring of the Matrix or whatever.
Huh.
That's how I think of it.
Yeah,
but
because since they call the things squids, I thought of like
Right.
underwater squids and
No.
they've got tentacles and ever. Okay.
Now it's gonna bug you. So
It does. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you ruined the Matrix for me. Nice going.
I'm still good. I have an open mind. I'm not closed-minded like
Right.
Travis.
Yeah.
Squids can't exist in the air.
That's right. So,
Inconceivable.
yeah.
I like Cypher's creepy vibes coming off.
Yes.
Dealing with I think he's like on top of her actually.
Yeah,
on
yeah.
Trinity talking to her through. I don't know. That whole scene just gives me the heebie-jeebies.
It's creepy as hell. Yeah.
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 But it's a great scene. It's Joey Pants kind of doing what he's good at.
Yep.
Just
Yeah.
being creepy. Yeah.
Sorry.
So after that, it's kind of like that's when Neo, once they kind of regroup, Neo kind of plants his flag and like, no, I'm not going to stand for this. I'm not going to let Morpheus sacrifice himself. And he refuses to give up on Morpheus. And that I love how adamant he is about that he can save him. Like he knows he can do it. It's a good character turn.
But he thinks he's the one to save Morpheus rather than the one or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. Which is probably just an easier thing.
Yeah. To wrap your noodle around.
To believe. Yeah.
Yeah. Rather than, my previous version was born in the Matrix.
Yeah.
Right.
Now I'm reborn.
Cyber Jesus. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot to swallow.
Yeah. And this is kind of like from here on, it's an easy movie to just watch the rest. It's because after this, they gear up for the assault on this building. And that's a lot of fun because it's like, let's just the whole idea of like guns, and then the aisles and aisles of guns show up. I feel like that was, parodied in commercials and I forget what it was, but I feel like I remember seeing commercials do a similar thing, cars or something. I don't know.
Yeah. But it wasn't corny when we saw it in the movie. I think it was cool.
Yeah.
Because it was like, hey, this is a computer simulation. So, we can go like all out.
Yeah.
Like there's no reason to go in there with just one gun.
Right.
We can have like a ludicrous amount of guns.
Yeah. It's like a video game where you have like a inventory.
Right.
Where you couldn't really carry 50 swords with you, but
sure,
your character can because you got an inventory menu. So it's very video game like.
Yeah.
But I think I don't even watch the action stuff that much anymore. I more enjoy Agent Smith. And
yes.
That whole
That's what
section.
I noticed. I noticed that for myself. Because this section used to always be about that lobby action sequence, but now it's more the Agent Smith talking to Morpheus about, you're a virus. All that stuff is so good.
Yeah.
I think when he wipes
his voice is so good, yeah.
Oh.
When he wipes his fingers and smells it, he's like, it's like seeping into me or whatever he says. Like it's like contaminating him, and he takes the earpiece out and all that, and the other agents are like, why don't you know what's going on?
Yeah.
Right.
I love that, like, you know, he loses it. He
Oh,
gets
yeah.
to the point where he's just like, I need out of here, you know.
I think he may have
It's
a point. I think he's been infected by humanity,
sure.
or at least the free humanity.
Right.
Still love the elevator explosion though. How they shot that, it was kind of cool, being like vertical. It
Yeah.
was very Independence Day like.
Huh. I don't love that because, like, you see
No,
the elevator door is like it
yeah, that
turns
part.
into a
Yeah,
CGI thing that
I just like the flame effect. I thought that was
sure.
cool. Again, it's the '90s, so I've seen some really craptacular.
Sure. I
Like,
remember
ugh.
I remember watching the behind the scenes on that lobby sequence and how much foam, the columns, the concrete,
Mhm.
and it's just like this foam material. So now watching it, it's like all I can see is like how it bounces and how it behaves like foam, you
Yeah.
know. So,
Oh yeah.
but it's still a fun scene to watch. Let's see. Oh, really like the when they get to the roof and he's like, "Do you know how to fly one of these?" And she's like, "Not yet." And
Yeah.
it's interesting because, like, when you're learning how to fly this helicopter, she would be vulnerable at this point. I mean, it's only like maybe 3 seconds, but still I like the learning on the fly sort of
Yeah.
idea.
So, what do you guys think of the morph from pilot to agent? Because I still feel like T2 was better at the
Oh,
morphing, like looks wise. I feel like this
yeah.
is like super, I don't know, stylized and
I
like
think they are going for a
stretchy.
stylized thing. I think
Yeah,
they could, if they wanted to seamlessly like morph somewhat,
yeah,
two faces. I think they could. They could have just done what they did with T2.
yeah.
I don't think they were going for that. I think they wanted it to be very digital, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like,
It, it gave me like the mirror vibe, where it's like almost like liquid
Mm.
mercury kind of look to it,
yeah,
like they were trying the T2 thing.
yeah,
But I don't know, it was weird. I mean, the noise kind of helps it, like the
yeah,
Yeah. I
sound
think the
effect they
noise does
use.
help it.
But just looking at, because I'm watching it mute right now, so
yeah.
I'm just like, oh, I don't like it as much on mute.
Because there's also a moment later when they're all like, it's time to get out of this sequence.
Mhm,
And it's when they get Morpheus out.
mhm.
He puts the phone up to his head, and then you see him become this
Yeah,
wireframe. It's like, I don't know if I love that. Like, it works, I
yeah.
guess. Like, it makes sense that he would disappear out of their reality. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else you would do with that, visual, but
They could
whatever.
have made it worse and turned them into like ones and zeros, and
Yeah,
like
yeah.
done that.
Or have him being like sucked into the phone receiver like that,
Right.
So
Yeah, I
it's
think that's
probably the
the
best.
yeah
Yeah.
best of any possible outcome.
Yeah. Um when I was watching it, when the helicopter crashes into the whatever this other building is, this time around I really wish that the building that the helicopter crashed into was Neo's former boss, like his office,
Mm.
like
And you see the
that
boss look
company.
up.
Yeah, like
Right.
and
Yeah.
when I had that thought, I'm like, I don't know that. I mean, I don't know that that guy was a bad guy. He may have been a
Yeah, I
shitty
was gonna
boss,
say it's just like
but you know,
you
it,
just want to stick it to the man. I got
I
it.
Yeah.
think, but I think there's part of me that's like, yeah, I kind of wish that that was his former company, and
That's just
um,
movie logic. You want to see someone get a comeuppance. Like
yeah, yeah,
Ghostbusters, you want to see the EPA
Peck. Yeah.
representative who's just trying to protect New York City get just like drowned in molten marshmallow.
yeah.
See, I think he got his comeuppance with the dickless comment in that movie. It is true. This man has no dick. That's just a cherry on top, or
Yeah.
I guess marshmallow on top.
Right.
I love the idea that, like, when it's Neo and Trinity and they're about to get out, that Agent Smith, there's a bum sitting in
Yeah.
the subway, and so it's like it's this idea that they have eyes everywhere. Like
Mhm.
this, this bum probably has always thought he was, a real person, but then suddenly like he's taken over and turns into Agent Smith, has, it's just like they have eyes everywhere and there's nothing. I guess they would have access to every human or mind that's plugged in. I don't know how all that works, but I don't know if the bum is like a computer program or if it was a real person and I don't know.
Yeah, I always took it as real people that they're just overriding.
Yeah.
They ruined that battery, and
Yeah.
there's a cost to it, but they're willing to sacrifice that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they say something about like any human who's hardwired
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
into the
Yeah.
system, they can hack into.
That's
See,
right.
you would have caught that lesson, but you weren't paying attention to the lesson.
That's
You're
right.
paying attention to the woman in the red dress.
Yeah. Yeah. Busted. I love the Smith and Neo fight. I mean, I think everybody does, but I love there's so many moments in it. I love when you see it's when Smith, I think, is rapidly punching Neo, and they
Yeah.
show it like he becomes this blur of like he looks like a 8-armed person, for a moment because he's got like all these fists are hitting Neo. It's a great little visual moment. And like when Neo stands up and he like gets into his fighting pose and like the dust kind of flies off of him, like just little stuff like that. I love with this.
Yeah. And the music just builds and
Yeah.
builds to your point of this is really easy once you get to this part to just watch through the end.
Yeah.
Like the music keeps sweeping you in with this like grandiose operatic score that it's like you are gonna see a payoff here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I liked when he gets his agent glasses broken.
Yeah.
There's probably some symbolism there. I just don't know or not smart enough to understand. But
right. I just chuckled because I looked over and it's probably one of my favorite moments in this movie. It's when Smith kind of catches Neo's fist inches from his throat, and so he just sticks his fingers out and jabs Smith in the throat, and he just does this like,
yeah.
It's a weird like it's certainly played for laughs, and it's like.
It would make you do that though if you got pressed in the throat. Like it would be
but
really
it's
annoying.
the intersection of Kung Fu and Three Stooges.
Yeah. For sure.
He should have just gone like this.
Right.
And put his hand between his eyes.
What else? I mean, then this fight scene, he kills Smith with the train, but then it's like it's not over yet, so they got to they move locations and go back to the building that Trinity was in at the start of the movie, and which I like that little nod of like Smith walks up to the front, he looks up, he sees this he recognizes this building, so he's like, oh, I know where he's going, so I'm just gonna be there. But then we ultimately, like, Neo's saved by the power of love, because he gets riddled with bullets, but then Trinity's prophecy comes to be.
Oh yeah, cue the Huey Lewis music.
Yeah,
and it's great once it gets to that point where he really realizes like the extent of his power. And he has that effortless fight with them when he's just like very easily like blocking all of their punches.
Yep.
Yeah, I like the part where he takes his breathing and kind of wiggle warps
everything
the world around
him. Yeah.
I was like, whoa.
I don't love that he runs and dives into Agent Smith, and then he explodes from like something about that. I don't know. It doesn't. I don't love it.
It's kind of like they didn't fully think through, like the science of how it's working.
And it's been so long since I've seen the second one. Is there something? Does he then infect Agent Smith or something? Is there a lingering effect of that moment in? Okay. I thought so.
It's like part of you rubbed off on
me.
Yeah. Okay.
Because like I think it's in 2 where they have like the bajillion versions of the agent that are like all over the place. Some other great CG work there. But yeah, it's I think it's like favorite part is the other two agents' reactions
Yeah.
afterwards. They like look at each other and they just run off.
Yeah.
They're like, nope.
Those two guys are the best.
Let's see what else. I mean, we
Squids are after them.
yeah,
and
yeah.
Just in the nick of time, of course.
We got an
They
EMP.
get them out. Yep.
And of course, you know, this is 1999, so earlier they've explained to us what an EMP is, and you know, because all movies at this era had to explain what an EMP does.
I found the explanation handy. I guess I didn't go to Hovercraft High School like Travis, and
Oh, I figure like there's
taught about
so many
EMPs.
sci-fi, you know, it's a sci-fi trope of like having an
Yeah.
EMP, you know, that, and they always explain it like, oh, it'll only destroy like, you know, things with an electronic or what, you know, whatever. But
yeah,
but let's see, yeah. So saved by Trinity, like just in the nick of time because she's the, you know, because her prophecy is that she will fall in love with the one.
Yep. And then he crank calls the Matrix and Rage Against the Machine's out of there.
Yep.
Because that's not too on the nose.
It's
and this is how I like
fitting.
to imagine that it just continues. That like now Neo and company are going and like freeing other people's minds
Right.
from the
Yeah.
Matrix.
Yep.
And kind of like
End of
rebuilding
story.
society. Yeah.
I know they put a software patch in, and da 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 da. There's white weird guys in the next ones.
I like the explanation with those characters. though.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll get there.
Yep.
Well, yeah. I know, Jarf, I know you've got to take off here in a bit. So, do you have a little bit of time to wrap up?
Sure. Let's wrap up.
Well, what is everyone's most heroic moment?
I believe there's a hero in all of us
I just finally know what I have to do.
that keeps us honest,
I'm here to fight for truth and justice in the American way.
gives us strength,
You will give the people of Earth an ideal to strive towards.
makes us noble.
And I know in my heart that it's right.
I'll go first because I've got one. Mine, I mentioned like Neo just flat out like when he stands his ground and is like refusing to give up on Morpheus and knows that he can save him and believes that he can save him, you know, that he knows how. So that's my heroic moment.
Gotcha. I'm gonna go Tank for the comeback win.
Nice. Yeah.
He kind of saves the day there.
For sure. Well, and that's like a good
And
one.
he doesn't have a plug.
It's a good one because Cypher is so convinced, like, well, if he's the one, he can't be dead. And then, you know, he literally, it fulfills the prophecy by, you know, he can't be killed. So, yeah.
And Patrick picked the same one as me.
Oh,
Oh, really?
son of a gun.
Believe it or not, you son of a bitch, you're going to burn.
Awesome line.
Yeah.
But he was
Let's
stoked
see.
when he read that.
Yeah, right.
Let's see. What about most villainous?
This planet, these people, they are nothing to me.
You were made to be ruled.
The universe's power. You unstoppable power. Come to me, son of Jor-El. Kneel before Zod. And I am that force. I am that power.
In the end, you will always kneel.
Kneel before your master.
I already said mine with Cypher on top of
Okay.
Trinity. talking
Mine
to her.
is the one you kind of brought up. It's that moment when Smith is with Morpheus and he gets to that point of like just that physical act of like rubbing his fingers over his sweaty head and then making him smell it like that.
Yeah.
He's so like up to that point he's just a monotone, very like droll, but yeah, here he's unhinged, I guess. So
yeah, there's some good creeps in this movie.
Yeah.
And,
Jarf,
and
how about
mine
you?
is Agent Smith back in the interrogating Neo, like leading up until the glue in your mouth shut scene when he's like busting out the files that they have on him. And
Yeah.
he's just, you know, he's the worst, like, evil middle management administrator.
So yeah, I thought Travis was going to go with the boss at the old company.
Right. Yeah, yeah. What his boss is like giving him shit for stealing time. Like, yeah,
mean,
that's
He should have gotten a helicopter to the face, according to Travis.
well, yeah.
Awful.
Shall we do ratings and just final thoughts or whatever?
5 out of 5 favorite
Okay.
standalone movie.
Yeah, I got to give 5 out of 5 too.
Well, yeah, it's 5 out of 5 for me as well because there's not. I mean, there's tiny little things that like I'd like to see different, but it's not.
Yeah,
it works as it is, you know.
Yeah, very groundbreaking and
Yeah,
really made you go. I didn't know I could see something like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's so satisfying to watch, you know.
I got to see it in 35 millimeter
Okay,
at the Ambler Theater last summer.
nice.
And it just reminds you of how fun movies can be.
I should have because it was here recently, you know, this is the 25th anniversary for it, and a lot of places have been showing it, you know, like they brought it back into theater. And I don't know, maybe it's still in theaters, but I probably have missed out on that, but I should have gone to see it in theater. Jarf, what do you want to plug? I know you got a lot of stuff going on lately.
I want to plug something not just for me, but it's a group project of the Movies by Minute community that I produced, Dream Operators. It is a song-by-song discussion of the film True Stories by David Byrne. And listeners, you will hear some of your favorite hosts from other Movies by Minute show, a bunch of whom have no doubt been on Real Comic Heroes as well. And that started just earlier this month that we're recording in October. So it's a limited series, just 11 episodes. And again, that's Dream Operators.
Very cool.
I've never seen True Stories. I will have to
It's
check
fun.
that out.
Yeah.
See, that's the fun thing about podcasting. I get to hear about all kinds of stuff I don't know or maybe should know.
You want to see David Byrne in a cowboy hat?
Yeah, I'm
Hanging
looking at
out
him right now.
Hanging out with John Goodman.
Oh, Goodman's in it? I'm all in. I'm good. Awesome. Cool.
Yeah. All right. That's we will be back with Galaxy Quest next time. So
Nice.
yeah, that'll be fun. That's one of those that's always fun to revisit. So many great moments in that one. So definitely looking forward to that.
And I think the listeners are about to hear the preview, the trailer for it, right?
very soon. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, Patrick, anything else?
No, just
All right.
gonna unplug here.
Yeah.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
But
Call it a day.
That's right. But until then, stay safe out there, citizens.
You mean batteries?
Yeah. Stay plugged in, batteries.
In the far reaches of the galaxy, a civilization is under siege.
We are all that is left.
They've searched the universe for a leader.
Stay tuned for scenes from next week's Galaxy Quest.
Never give up, never surrender.
He will save us!
What they got
Never give up and never surrender.
were struggling TV actors.
You are our last hope.
Where's my limo?
Okie dokie.
And they're about to put on a command performance 8 million light years away.
We are actors, not astronauts.
You are our protectors.
That was a hell of a thing.
Now,
Laredo, take us out. You gotta move to the right.
Would you sit your ass down? You want to drive this thing?
acting like heroes.
The whole thing was just a misunderstanding.
May not be enough.
They look like little children. Hi, little guy.
Oh, darn.
DreamWorks Pictures presents Tim Allen, Sigourney Weaver, Alan Rickman, Galaxy Quest.
You're just gonna have to kill him.
We'll go for the mouth, the throat, his vulnerable spots.
It's a rock. It doesn't have any vulnerable spots.
Thanks for listening to the podcast. Find the show on Facebook and Twitter at Real Comic Heroes. All music and audio are the property of their respective creators.